So, good evening, everybody, and welcome this evening. Thank you so much for joining us at this evening's event. We're very pleased to welcome you all and for joining us on your very busy days. My name is Ofra Muflahi, and I am the UK Professional Lead for the Nursing Support Workforce here at the Royal College of Nursing. Now, unfortunately, our chair, Kevin Morley, who is the chair of the Nursing Support Workers Committee, could not join us today. He's actually on a plane arriving in London HQ, so he sends his immense apologies, but hopefully will join us at the next webinar. Kevin is a real advocate for the nursing support workforce, and he also is the representative at Council at the Royal College of Nursing. So here at the Royal College of Nursing, the nursing support workforce is a wide range of skilled members of the nursing team. And as you may already know, that includes healthcare assistants, healthcare support workers, assistant practitioners, trainee nursing associates, nursing assistants, maternity support workers, and many more roles within this diverse workforce. And this is both in health and social care. So we're very proud and extremely proud at the Royal College of Nursing to have the nursing support workforce as part of our membership. So this event is part of a series of live events we're running this year, which are tailored to the nursing support workforce. And these events are designed to share information on the RCN offer and what support can be offered to you as members, how you can get involved, how you can become more active within the space and within your membership. So we really do hope that you enjoy this evening's webinar and get a lot out of this evening's webinar. And like I say to many of the nursing support worker members, we are very much stronger together in terms of amplifying the voice of the nursing support workforce. So today's agenda, we've got a lot in store for you this evening. So we'll be hearing from Julie Watkins from the RCN Careers Service team, who'll be sharing some expert tips on how to write a CV and also a supporting statement, which I'm sure will be really helpful to you, especially if you're considering looking for a new role and supporting you in your career development. We'll also be hearing from Bali Daliwal from the RCN Foundation, who will be sharing information on education grants, which may be available to you, and also how these can support you in relation to your continuing professional development. We'll also have time to answer any questions that you may have at the end. So please feel free to post any questions in the Q&A along the way. So we'll pick them up as you ask the questions, and we'll answer them during our Q&A section. So please, if you are posting a question, please include your name and your role, so we have some context in relation to the response. So before we get started, I just want to remind everybody in the space that the session is being recorded and it will be made available on the RCN website and the YouTube channel. So just a gentle reminder really that for you as attendees to be mindful not to disclose anything that's sensitive or any sensitive information, because it is being recorded. So I will want to just say thanks again to all of you, and I'll start by introducing Julie from the RCN Careers Service team. So over to you, Julie. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Ofra. And I'm delighted to speak to you all today. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully I'll be able to give you an idea of how we can help you in the RCN Careers Service, along with some top tips to go away with. So we'll focus mainly, I guess, on the supporting statements and CVs, but I'll also navigate you through some of the online resources, which can really help you with your career, whether you're looking to develop some new skills or looking at moving areas. We've got lots of support and online information to help you. So could go to the next slide, please. So just in terms of how some of the practical information, I guess, that I wanted to showcase to you of how we can help you in the careers team. So if you are applying for a job, maybe you've got to write a CV or a covering letter or a supporting statement in the application section, you can email that to us and we can offer you some email feedback. We get really positive responses then, and how we can just enhance your application to make sure you're getting kind of shortlisted as best as we can. Following that, then we can also offer one-to-one telephone interview coaching, so you can book an appointment through RCN Direct. And again, it's just your opportunity to rehearse some of the questions that might come up, how you're going to answer them. It can definitely help with some nerves as well, because you're going through that first time with one of us in terms of the careers team. We also offer one-to-one telephone career coaching. So maybe you're feeling a little bit stuck. Perhaps you want to progress, but not sure how to do that. You may have some ideas and you want to talk that through. Again, you can book a career coaching appointment, and I'll show you a little bit more about that and some of the online resources that we have to navigate you with booking one of those appointments. Next slide, please. So everything that I speak about today will be online. There's our direct email address, a web address, sorry. So it'll be rcn.org.uk/careers. And then you'll see this would be the landing page. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, we're going to sort of focus today on supported statements, CV writing, with an overview of the online resources, and hopefully give you a few tips. So even if you're in the middle of applying for a job, hopefully you can apply some of the tips today. Next slide, please. So firstly, what is a supporting statement? Some people will call it supporting information, personal statement. It's the most important part of the application generally. And yeah, as we can see there, we're highlighting it. It's what the employers will usually use to shortlist. So this is where we can help you in terms of how do you write your statement, how you're going to make sure that you're going to get the best opportunity to get shortlisted. So our first tip would be to study the job pack. The job pack will usually consist of the job advert, the person specification, the job description, and probably some of the values as well, organisational values. So whenever you're looking to apply for a job, make sure you've got all of these to hand, because they're going to be really valuable in helping you write that statement. Just to give you an idea in terms of what a person specification will look like, you'll see you've got the essential criteria, desirable, the qualifications or the headings we call them, and it's just making sure in your supporting statement on your application you're evidencing that you have that essential criteria. I'll go through a couple of examples on that as well. Next slide, please. So our tip 2 would be to structure your statement. So when we say mean structure, we say perhaps have an introduction. If you were to go into an interview, you'd introduce yourself. So introduce your statement. We look at the main body. This is where the core aspect of meeting the person's specification would be, and then the conclusion then, so anything you might want to reiterate. So if we look at perhaps the introduction firstly, here are just some ideas to help you navigate sort of through what you might want to include. So your motivation perhaps for applying for the job, maybe what inspired you to work in healthcare, what you love about your work, maybe why you want to work in this ward, this setting, with this employer. A good opportunity in the introduction to mention the values, what you might bring to the role, or what your strengths are. And these are just some ideas. Don't go worrying thinking, oh, I've got to introduce everything. There's some ideas. So this is just an example. We call it a poor introduction example, just because it's very generic. We want to showcase to an employer, well, what is unique about you? What can you bring to this role that perhaps somebody else doesn't have? And maybe, you know, how you've tailored it, what you're passionate about. So if we go to the next slide, there'll be a little bit of a better example. I'll give you a few moments just to read through that, because I appreciate there's a lot of text. But just to give you a flavour in terms of how that kind of introduction might really convey somebody's, you know, passionate about an area. They absolutely love working with a certain patient group. What's driven them to want to become a senior support worker. It demonstrates a little bit more that they've taken the time, they've tailored it, and they're conveying how enthusiastic they are. So we would say that was a bit of a better example then of how to introduce your statement. If we go to the next slide, please. And then the tip 4 would be to use examples and evidence. And when we talk about the main body of structuring your statement, this is where it's really vital to back it up with some examples and evidence. If you go to the next slide, please. And that's that main body. So this is where the person specification will come into play, and the job pack information that you have. When we looked at the criteria and the headings, we always say, you know, make sure you're covering that essential criteria. If there's a high number of applicants and you're not meeting the essential criteria, then you may not get shortlisted. So it's really important then that you're evidencing and using examples. Try and address it in the same order. You want to make it easy for them to shortlist you. You also want to show how organised you are and that, you know, you work methodically. So that again can give a sense on your application. And this is an idea then in terms of a bit of a checklist. It's in the same order. And here are some of my examples. And that's usually how an employer will shortlist. They'll have that person specification and they'll be cross-checking it against your supporting statement. So just make it as easy as possible for them to shortlist you. Next slide, please. So again, I'm just going to give you a little bit of an example. If somebody writes sort of, I'm able to prioritise my workload and I'm always efficient. Whilst it's a nice statement, that there's no evidence, there's nothing to back that up. They want to know how. It doesn't offer insight, it's a bit vague, it's not really specific. And as I mentioned, there's no examples. So just remember, you know, you want to make sure, and if you can click on that again, please, John. Yeah, you want to make sure that you explain how and why you meet that person specification and that criteria. Next slide, please. And here are just some better examples of how you might, you know, demonstrate that you're prioritising your workload, or perhaps part of the essential criteria might be that you need to be working in a team. It's backing it up with, you know, so here's an example of a time when I've needed to delegate to the team, you know, the patient safety, you know, patient care is at the forefront of what I'm doing and I'm communicating. In terms of the second example there, you know, it's given some sort of manager feedback as well in terms of the appraisal, and that can back that up as well in terms of the evidence. So just to give you an idea when you're filling in that application as to what they may be looking for. Okay, next slide, please. And then our tip 5 is the conclusion. So as long as you're following that kind of structure, you really should be covering everything that they're asking for. And in the conclusion, you usually will sort of reiterate perhaps any important factors. So maybe you volunteer, and if we go to the next slide, yeah, reiterate any important points. So maybe you volunteer, maybe you really want to highlight the skills that you demonstrate there. It can be an idea to, as I mentioned, to add in the introduction about how you meet their values. But if you don't, you could pop it into the conclusion. So what I'm going to do now is just play you a little video that we created in the careers team, just to go through some CV tips for you. So John will play that now. Thank you.
There are lots of different opinions out there as to what makes a successful CV, and it's likely you'll hear different advice from different people. But here are our top tips. Tip 1. Keep a master CV. A master CV is a working document that states absolutely everything that you've ever done in your career. You can use your master copy as a base or a starting point every time you need to write a CV to apply for a new position. List all your skills and achievements, previous jobs and duties, qualifications, and any courses, CPD, or professional activities, and keep it safe. Tip 2. CV format. There are different ways that you can format your CV, so when you apply for a job, have a think about what format would be best. A chronological CV organises your work experience by your jobs, starting with the most recent and working backwards. Whereas a skills-orientated CV organises your work experience by skills or areas of expertise. Tip 3. Less is more. Having too much detail in your CV could be overwhelming or ineffective, and you risk your best achievements or skills getting a bit lost. Think of your CV as a snapshot of your career. Aim for 2 sides of A4 max, that's the golden rule, and focus on the most recent and the most relevant. Tip 4. Tailor your CV. Make sure it's relevant to your target audience. Examine the job advert, the person specification, and the job description for the role you're applying for, and put yourself in the employer's shoes. What skills, qualifications, experience, or qualities do you think would be useful or relevant for this particular role? Tip 5. Profile and key skills. Introduce your CV with a profile. Give a brief but relevant overview of yourself, aiming for around 3 or 4 sentences and no more than 100 words. Ask yourself, what would this particular employer find useful to know about you and why you're applying for the job? Then below, have a key skills or key skills and achievements section, listing 4 to 6 bullet points to highlight your most relevant skills, experience, qualifications, or achievements. Think of it as your highlights reel or your clickbait. The idea of this section is that you'll create an immediate impression of being a suitable or well-matched candidate for the job, right at the beginning of your CV. Always tailor these 2 sections depending on what job you're going for, and tweak them with your target audience in mind. There's so much more advice online with detailed guidance, examples, action words, CV templates and samples, step-by-step guides, and you can even email your CV to us for feedback. Visit rcn.org.uk/careers.
Thank you. So yeah, that hopefully will give you an idea of just how much we can help you with. You know, you're not on your own in terms of applying for a job. It can be daunting sometimes. You think, oh my gosh, where do I start? You know, we're here to help you, whether that's through email feedback on your CV, your supporting statement, or help you with that interview. You know, we're here to work with you. as we mentioned, you can have sample CVs. We've got a template CV, so if you don't know where to start, you can fill that in, and then we can check it for you. You can email it to us. Okay, next slide, please. And I'm just going to give you a little bit of a tour in terms of those online resources that I've mentioned. So if you just bear with me, and hopefully this will work and you can all see this page. So when you type in rcn.org.uk/careers, this will be our landing page, we call it. And as you can see, there's a designated area for you here. Everything that we mentioned will be included, so the sample CVs, the sample supporting statements, for example. You can see sample statement for nursing support workers. You have to be logged in, and you have to be a member to be able to access the sample statements. But again, it'll give you an idea of how to structure it. If you're also thinking perhaps about career progression, we've got some online resources here to help you as well, just in terms of finding out more about different nursing support worker roles. Maybe you're looking to move from a band 4 to a band 5, that there's so much information here that we can help you with. There's also the career pathways resource. So this is, I'd say, fairly new. It's probably been up and running now for quite some time. But this will help you. So if you're looking to develop perhaps your knowledge, your skills, maybe move into a different setting or undertake some formal qualifications, then this resource might be able to help you. So if we look at perhaps changing a care setting, you can see a healthcare support worker in children's learning disability team. There's some case studies, talk you through perhaps how you might make this change, what you might need, education, training, personal characteristics, and where you can find out more. So as that first point of contact, if you're thinking of a change or a new area, then always have a look at what we've got online. Once you've got some ideas, as I mentioned at the start, you may think, oh, actually, I'd love to speak to somebody in the careers team about this. You can access our online, our telephone career coaching. This will give you an idea in terms of what coaching is. We certainly can't tell you what to do, and all that practical information of, maybe I want to be an assistant practitioner. How do I do that? We've got all of the practicalities online. But if you want to talk about, well, what are my strengths that align with this role, or perhaps is it going to meet with what's important to me and my values, or maybe you're feeling a little bit stuck in terms of there's some obstacles, then that's where a coach can help you. Okay, let's talk that through and let's work together to get some next steps then to help you on your career journey. Okay, so I'm just going to pass you back now to John. So I just want to, hopefully that's given you an idea. I know there's an awful lot of information there, but hopefully it'll, go to our online pages and we can help. And if you want to email me any questions, please do so. I'm going to hand you over now to my colleague, Bali. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jolie. That was really, really interesting and engaging to see, and the amount of resources you have on your website as well. So hi, everyone. Thank you for having me and good evening. I am the grants manager at the RCN Foundation. And just say, John, if you can move on to the next slide, and I'll do a brief introduction to who we are as a foundation and the type of courses that we can offer you as well as healthcare support workers. And just to touch base on the terminology healthcare support workers, that's what we use at the foundation, but it definitely goes back to what Ofra was saying about the diverse workforce. So it is nursing support workers as an umbrella terminology. So if you hear me revert back to healthcare support workers, I do mean the whole umbrella terminology. So just to give a brief introduction to who we are an independent charity, and our whole purpose is to support and strengthen the nursing, midwifery and the social care sectors, with the aim to wanting to improve the health and well-being of the public and patients that you see on a daily basis. So how we do this is that we provide grants, and we break this down in three distinctions. So it's grants for hardship. So this is for nurses, midwives and nursing support workers who are currently facing sort of mostly around cost of living crisis at the moment, and it's incredibly oversubscribed at the moment, and we can't see it dipping anytime soon. And it's hardship grants up to £500 that we can offer you. And this program runs all year round, and you can hear or you can see more on our website. We've got more information on the website, which is the very last slide that I have. So I'm here to talk about education, so I'll talk more about that in the slides coming up. But the other big area that we currently offer grants is research. And this runs slightly different in terms of it's an opening call that we offer, and it's on the website. So we open and close calls depending on what type of research that the RCN Foundation is looking to support. And it's usually supporting universities and institutions, whereas hardship and education grants are for individuals. So that's the clear distinction between the different strands. And just to say, and it's incredibly important for us as a foundation, is that we are independent. So you do not need to be a member of the RCN. We are open to both members and non-members. And just to say that, and it was a big area of questions that I was receiving at the RCN Congress, we do not receive any membership fees from the RCN. All our funding comes from donations and legacy grants, and we also do have some corporate sponsorship grants as well. So we are incredibly independent, and we do not receive any statutory funding. So if you are a worker that has no recourse to public funds, you can still apply for a grant. So we do not receive any statutory funding. So I just wanted to make that distinction at the beginning. Next slide. Thank you. So the education grants. So in 2023, we awarded 110 grants of 375 that were recommended for a grant. And the reason for this number is the budget. Our budget last year was 160,500. So it was £160,247 that we actually gave out. So we are always oversubscribed with education, just as the same as hardship grants. And the majority of our funding last year were made up of nurses, which were 80%. Healthcare support workers was at 14%, and then 2% went to midwives. The 4% were student nurses, and that is a separate grants program that we run in the autumn round. Of the grant recipients, 72% were women. Next slide. So this is the education grant. So we are online. So if you wanted to apply for a grant, you will need to register with us at the foundation's website. So you log your details in, and then you can then access the education grant rounds. So we run twice a year. We've just closed for the spring round that ended 31st of May, and we've now allocated all the funding that we had for that round. So that was for courses starting in September 2024 to September 2025. So that's what we call the eligible time period. So if you wanted to have a course starting September, unfortunately, you missed the cutoff. That was in May. So the next round will open in autumn, and we're going to open that on the 16th of August. And applications will be open till the 18th of October 2024. Now, the courses that you want to apply for will need to start from January 2025 to December 2025. So we will not be accepting any applications for courses in September 2024. So we've actually closed now for the September education round. So it's really clear that I say this because a lot of people, unfortunately, are not eligible because they put in the wrong course dates. So if you move on to the next slide, thank you. Fantastic. So this is our main grants program. overall, we run about 8 or 9 different grant programs over the 2 terms, so over the spring round and the autumn round. But the one that's consistent is the RCN Foundation Professional Bursary Scheme, which is also our largest grants program as well. So in the autumn round, we have about £45,000 available, and of that, you can apply up to grants up to £1,600. That's what's available for you as an individual. We don't specify any minimum budget amounts, so you can apply for any course as long as it's accredited up to 1,600. And this is for continuous professional development. So we've broken this down to adult nursing, children's nursing, learning disability nursing, and mental health nursing. So this is open to all nursing support workers who work for the NHS, social care, or what we call the independent sector, which is also the charitable sector. It's very unlikely we'll be funding you if you work in the private sector. And actually, I think last year we didn't fund any healthcare support workers who were in the private sector. To be eligible, you will need to be a healthcare support worker working in the UK, a UK registered nurse or a midwife, nursing associates in the UK, and doing a UK accredited course with an eligible start date, which is with the dates that I was referring to in the previous slide. If you can move on, please, Jonathan. Thank you. So this is another grants program that is running, was running. It's actually closed for 2024 because this was called the Kershaw Grant, and this was only open in the spring round. So in the autumn, we won't be running this, but we will be running it again next year in spring. So this is for grants up to £500, and it's to encourage and support healthcare support workers in furthering their career. And again, the eligibility criteria is quite straightforward. You will have to be a healthcare support worker based in the UK, and this is all to do with your clinical care skills. So it's enhancing your current clinical care. So like I said, this is closed for the moment, but we will be reopening again in spring. If we move on, and next slide. Thank you. So this is another grants program that is open for healthcare support workers, and this is what we call the Olufunke Adeye grant. So it's a legacy grant that we received, and this is for healthcare support workers, nurses, and midwives who are from the global majority background. And this is opening up in the autumn round, and it's for grants up to £1,600. And again, it's for continuous professional development. So around your clinical care experience, specialist areas. If we move on to the next slide. So this is some of the examples of courses that we can support you in. It's not the full list. We can offer more. This, I just thought I'd give you a flavour of the types of courses that we see come to us quite often. And so they tend to be quite closely around the ECG and how to do ECG readings, cannulation, lots of diplomas in health and social care. And we have awarded, particularly last year, courses around counselling and how you can support your patients. Moving on to the next one. Yeah, these are a few important points to consider when applying to us. I think I mentioned this before. We do tend to receive far more applications than we can actually support people with. So we do receive a really high caliber and it's quite robust application form. So even if your project does fit with our criteria and priorities, we may not be able to offer you a grant because of budget constraints. We would like to offer more, so this is all about us having a fundraising team that are working really hard to get more donations and more legacy grants in, so that we can then offer a wider output. Sorry, I just want to go back that slide again, Jonathan, sorry. And I just want to say that the trustees' decisions is final and there's no appeal process. And like I said, all our funding does come from donations and legacy grants. Before we move on to the next slide, I just wanted to touch base on the application itself. There are some questions that we probably give more emphasis on, and I just wanted to run this through with you so that if you are thinking of applying to us, these are the questions that we would like you to spend a bit of time on and giving us robust answers. One of the questions is around what are your professional goals? And this is a real opportunity to highlight what you currently do in your role, where you're seeing yourself in 5 years' time, and what kind of course do you need to see yourself achieve that vision of yours. So it's very much linking in with health outcomes and patient outcomes. So if you can link that with your professional goals, it gives you that extra edge that maybe some other people may not have in their application form. Another question that we do also look closely at is, how will the course, or what we call the activity, because that's how we describe it, how will the activity improve the health and well-being to patients and their carers? So again, this is linking into sort of areas of health inequalities, how you can support your patients, and what you can use your course that you want to apply for that can help improve their well-being. So if you can, again, give us a robust answer that we can follow through with you, what your journey is in that question, you're likely to score better in terms of potentially getting a grant with us. And then lastly, there's a question around, how do you share your learning with others? And this is more about your expertise and wanting to promote excellence in clinical settings. So again, this is about how you can influence and make change in your organization, and how you can share that with your peers and your colleagues. So I think those 3 questions, if you are able to answer that fully, just gives you that extra edge compared to other people. And I just want to say, before we move on to the video I want to share with you, is that the applications are not assessed by me, because I'm not clinically trained. I'm a grants manager in terms of background. So we have a robust peer reviewers, and there's a pool of them that we send out the applications to, and then they actually do the assessment and then come to us with recommendations to fund or not to fund, and that's what we use to be able to determine who should get a grant. I think that's everything I wanted to say about the education grants. But before we move on, I just wanted to share this video of Fionn, who is a maternity assistant practitioner, and she was an Impact Award winner this year. And it just gives you a really good flavour of the type of courses that we can support you, the individuals that we want to support. And her story is a really interesting one. So we thought we'll share that video with you. So Jonathan, if you want to just click on the video, please. Thanks.
My name is Fionn George. I work within the Healthy Pregnancy team. I'm an assistant practitioner. I'm from Caerphilly, and I work within the NHS. So my standard day-to-day role, I'll either be in like clinics or ringing patients. I also do my aquanatal classes on like a Wednesday and a Thursday, and then a little bit of admin stuff on the computer. Short staffing is such a major thing across the NHS. Like, it's just crazy how the midwives have got so much more work to do. There's not enough of them. And then I was just thinking, like, all these holistic side of things, all the extra nice things are not happening because they're so busy. How I started the aquanatal, like the thought of it, I realised there was nothing really for higher BMI pregnant women. I just remember sat having this idea of like, could I do this? Like, am I able? I found out about the RCN Foundation bursary by an email that was sent around to everyone. I'd already been on the hunt for money. When that email came through, there was not even a second doubt in my mind I was going to apply for it. What we do now is free. Like, pregnant women can come to my class. It's just a nice way to like keep fit and healthy. Just want to like keep creating opportunities for Welsh women. Obviously, I'm like Welsh, I'm proud. I just want a role where I'm able to provide this. I want everybody to have the same opportunities. Like, I'm seeing pregnant women and keeping them fit through their 9 months, but once they've had the baby, they can't come back to my class. I've got to do a postnatal class, and that's like another funding I'm looking for. It's been amazing receiving this award. I just never expected it, and I just think it's given me the confidence now to keep going with ideas and create all these like great opportunities and just go for it, really.
Oh, thank you so much, Jonathan. And that's all from us. So this is just the last slide. So if you have any questions that you think of after today's webinar, pop it into the grants@rcnfoundation.org.uk, and I will get back in touch. And you can follow us on various social media outlets as well. So just know, thank you so much. Thanks. Oh, I'll hand you back over to Ofra.
Thank you so much, both. Just checking to see if we have any questions. If you do have any questions, please do post them in the Q&A. As they come through, we will answer them. I have to say a huge thanks to Julie and Bally. I've certainly learnt a lot more today as well, and it's really refreshing to see how, certainly from a grant perspective, Bally, how the foundation is supporting the wider nursing support workforce to develop, but also to improve patient care and patient services. And Julie, I think, you know, the information that you've given around CV writing and how to actually do a real robust application for a new role certainly adds value to the membership, the wider membership. So thank you so much for that. So I'm just going to default to my team in the background to make sure I'm not missing any questions, and I don't think I am, unless somebody else tells me otherwise. I think it's really important to certainly share with you some of the resources that we have available for the nursing support workforce at the Royal College of Nursing. Time and time again, I get asked by the nursing support workforce about the resources that are available at the Royal College of Nursing, and we've included some web pages and resources. I think somebody's going to share the slide just so you're aware of what's available at the Royal College of Nursing and some of the benefits to being a member of the Royal College of Nursing. So please, you know, we can see the codes there. Please use your phones to look at those at depth. I think we have, do we have a question? I'm just going to have a look. Yes, we do have a question. I'm just going to it. Are bank healthcare workers in the NHS able to arrange an interview coaching session? I think, Judy, you'll be able to.
Yeah, as long as you're an RCN member, I think to access interview coaching or career coaching, as long as you're an RCN member, we can absolutely, you know, book that in. You can do that with RCN Direct. We can have that one-to-one session with you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Julie. So being a bank or agency healthcare support worker is absolutely, you know, you can absolutely use our services. Let me just go to another question. Is there another question? Yes, another question. Thank you for this session. Very informative. You're most welcome. My questions: is there any word count for the supporting statement? And how can we give examples of every skill or experience in our statement? I think that's one for you, Julie.
Yeah, so I think it will vary in terms of the word count. Usually they could be about 1,500, but again, it will always say on the application somewhere what that word count is. So always just double check, you know, that they'll indicate what that is. How can you give an example of every skill or experience in our statement? You know, again, that's something that we can help you with in terms of giving you some feedback. So in that essential criteria, if they're saying you need to be able to work as part of a team, communication skills, then it's just trying to think of a specific situation, perhaps where you really can think, oh, I worked well within that team, and I can use that as an example. And your communication skills could be anything from perhaps dealing with a difficult situation and trying to diffuse something. But yeah, that's, if you're a member, again, we can absolutely help you with that in terms of trying to think, well, what can I use? So get in touch with us.
Thank you so much, Julie. I can't see any more questions. I will come back to the chat if we need to, but I guess it's a gentle reminder for anyone who isn't a member of the Royal College of Nursing. It's probably the most important time to become an RCN member, and you can do that through the links that we're going to share. And I think more importantly is our aim is to help and to support, whether it's around workplace representation, whether it's around education, learning and development. That's the I guess the intention at the Royal College of Nursing. So please, if you're not a member of the Royal College of Nursing, then have a look at all of the resources and do join if you're not a member. I do think we have another question from Eva. Is that right? Thank you for the session. Thank you so much for your time. I think Abby has put some of the useful links for the event today, and you know, certainly as the UK-wide professional lead here at the Royal College of Nursing, you know, I'm very proud. The Nursing Support Worker Committee is very proud. The RCN is very proud to represent the nursing support workforce, and this is a real opportunity for people in the space today to be more proactive and active within the Royal College of Nursing. You know, please do contact me or anybody who's spoken today if you want to know more about how you can become more active within the Royal College of Nursing. That's really important to me, and certainly the membership, certainly the elected members within the Nursing Support Worker Committee. Just going back to the Q&A, can a volunteer be considered as a member and eligible for a grant? Do you want to take that, Julie, or do you want me to take it?
Oh yeah, I wouldn't. I don't know that answer, I'm afraid. So yeah. Okay,
so the membership category for the nursing support workforce is that you're employed as a support worker within an establishment. That probably answers the first part of the question. I'm going to default to Bally around eligibility for grants. I think I know the answer, but I'll let Bally answer that question. Thanks, Bally.
That's all right, you do indeed. So yes, it's workers that are currently working. So we don't give grants to volunteers, but I just wanted to go back to a previous question with the bank healthcare support worker, and just to say that we can offer grants if you're a bank agency as well. And the whole aim of the RCN Foundation strategy is retention. So we want to keep as many nursing support workers within the profession. So we do also support bank agency staff as well. Thank you, Ofra.
No problem. Thank you, Bally. I think you might want to answer the next question around support to go to university in September. There's a query around what support can be made available. I think you did explain the process, but if you can just run through that quickly again, please. Thank you.
Yep, sure. So at the moment, the foundation, we're not accepting any applications for courses in September. It's the autumn round will open up in August, and that will be for any eligible courses from January next year to January 2025. So in terms of support that you require now for September, I think perhaps it's worth speaking to the university directly just to see what support they can offer you. But unfortunately, the foundation, we've allocated all our grants now for courses starting in September 2024. So apologies, probably not the answer that you wanted to hear.
I think that probably answers maybe the same person. I'm going to uni in September 2024. Please, can I get support? I think that probably is a follow-on question from...
Yeah, it's the same answer, I'm afraid, just because it does take us a while to assess the applications. So we don't turn it around very quickly. So which is why we have the spring round for courses starting September, so that we can comfortably go back to everyone in July and let you know that you have a grant for September, but we won't be able to support you for the autumn round for September. If that makes sense.
Thank you, Bally. And I can see just one last question. Please, team, let me know if I've missed any questions. So the narrative is being a member will help me back to nursing practice if the degree is from abroad. So I think I'm going to signpost that question to Julie because of the careers advice and some of the support that can be offered at the Royal College of Nursing. But I think what I'm reading is that you've potentially done something abroad around nursing practice, and you just want to understand a bit more around what can be offered in terms of support from the RCN, if I've read the question correctly. So I'll just pass to Julie. Thank you, Julie.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Yeah, it's a tricky one in terms of how you interpret the question. How to go back to nursing practice if the degree. So if I'm understanding maybe you qualified as a nurse abroad and perhaps you come in to work here, because then it would be, I guess, you know, what your equivalent is, and speaking to the NMC about that. But please drop me an email because I'm happy to just clarify with you what advice you're looking for, I guess. So if I can help in any way, I don't know if you can pop my email address now. I'm happy for you to drop me an email just so I can make sure I'm giving you the right information.
Thank you, Julie. Okay, there's another question. I'll take this. I think this question, do you offer sponsorship for healthcare assistants? I think that's probably from the same person who's asked about, I'm not quite sure. Sponsorship is not something that we offer at the Royal College of Nursing. But Bally went through the offer in terms of funding. So I think if there's something specific around any training or development that you would like, perhaps to contact Bally. Anything else to add there, Bally?
No, I think again with sponsorship, we don't fund sponsorships. It's grant given, so it's a donation that we offer. So the idea of the donation or the grant is that everything else is in place for that support worker, and they need the financial assistance. Whereas I think sponsorship has a different meaning. But I'm happy to go back and check and then come back to that person. Yeah, if my email address is shared at the end.
Okay, thanks, Bally. Yeah, we've got another question. I want to do my nursing in January 2025. Certainly, Julie, any advice for the person who's posted that question?
Great news. I think, you know, fantastic. You wanna sort of, that's your pathway. Again, if you want to talk it through, if you're thinking of any kind of barriers, or maybe you're a little bit hesitant, anything like that, and you just want to talk it through, if you're a member, speak to us in a direct, how we certainly have a coaching appointment then just to look at those next steps with you. But yeah, fantastic. Well done.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Julie. I can't see any more questions in the Q&A. We will be sharing the recording of the webinar with all people who have attended this evening, and it will be available on the RCN website. But we'll also be sharing a feedback survey. So please do let us know your feedback. That's really important to us, so we can improve things where we need to improve, but also run sessions which are relevant to you within the nursing support workforce, and we absolutely want to hear from you so we can certainly support you within the workplace and wider. I'm being told, is there another question? I'm just checking. So I don't think I can see any more questions. So just a gentle reminder really that there will be other nursing support worker events coming up in the autumn. So please, if you are on social media or any social media channels, please do follow us and really engage with us using those platforms if you do use socials. If not, you can do it through the membership, but please do come along to the sessions in the autumn and tell your colleagues about them, because certainly this evening's been a jam-packed evening of information that's really relevant to you within the nursing support workforce. So I'll finish there. Thank you again to everybody who's been involved this evening and to everybody who's attended this evening, and I hope you all have a very rested evening. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.